Patrick's Day in Boston might be all about pubs and parades, but in Ireland, the home of the festival, St. Patrick's Day is also a major date in the sporting calendar. The Gaelic Athletic Association hold their club finals every St. Patrick's Day. To tell us more about these Irish sports, Rory O'Donnell from the Boston GAA Club is live in studio with Emily Lynch.
Gurf maith agat Mary agus tásúla gom go raibh lá éile fóric iontach gur ag gach déine. Thanks a million for joining me, Rory. So now I know most people here in Boston probably aren't that familiar with the GAA, so maybe you could start by explaining what it is.
Definitely, Emily, and thanks for having me in here to talk to you. The GAA stands for the Gaelic Athletic Association, which is the largest sporting body in Ireland, and it covers the sports of Gaelic football and hurling, which are both sports that go back hundreds of years. They talk about there's record of hurling in Irish mythology, and the sports were codified in 1884 with the founding of the Gaelic Athletic Association.
Okay, great. And so I know a lot of people in America, when we talk about football, they think the Irish are talking about soccer, but that's not the case. So maybe you can explain what Gaelic football actually is?
Definitely not the case, Emily. Gaelic football is probably closest to Australian rules football, if anybody has seen it. It's like a mixture between rugby and soccer, where you can catch the ball in your hands, you can hand pass it out of your hand, you can kick it with your feet. It's very fast moving, very physical, a lot of scoring, which I think are all ingredients into the types of sports that Americans love.
Yeah, definitely. And then how about hurling? Is it like anything we might have seen before?
Not quite. I think the nearest to hurling that I've seen here is lacrosse. Probably the best way to describe lacrosse would be as a mixture between, hurling would be as a mixture between lacrosse and field hockey, where you play with a stick, a ball that's about the size of a baseball, maybe a little bit softer. You hit the ball with the stick, you can pick it up on your stick, you can catch it in your hand, you can run with it, within certain rules. And it's another sport that's very fast moving, very high scoring, physical, and it's, for my money, one of the most exciting games you can ever see.
And I know they were talking earlier about wearing helmets. It's compulsory to wear a helmet in hurling.
It is now. I think the GAA has finally caught up with safety standards. I know when I played as an underage player, any safety equipment was not mandatory, it was optional.
Okay.
It's been mandatory for underage kids for about 20 years, and a couple of years ago, the rules were brought in where adults had to wear helmets and face masks. The reasons, if you ever take the time to check out the sport, are kind of obvious.
Okay, and now they're both hurling and Gaelic football are amateur sports, but I know they mean an awful lot to Irish people. So can you maybe capture why is the GAA so important to Irish people?
The reason it's so important is the sense of place. The clubs and the sport at the highest level is organised around parishes, towns, counties, places where people are from. And a friend of mine a long time ago asked me, he was an American friend of mine, he said, "O'Donnell," he says, "why are you Irish guys so into that football?" So the best way to describe it to him was, I said to him, "Well, Greg, imagine if the Boston Red Sox won the World Series and all of the players on the team came from Boston. So to be eligible to play for your county at the highest level, you have to be from that county. So everybody is cheering on their own guys, whether it's their county, which is the highest level, or whether it's their town or parish, which is at a local level. So everybody knows the players. The players don't get paid. The players play it to win. So it's almost, I think, in this day and age, one of the purest forms of amateur sports that there is.
Okay, great. And then could you maybe tell us about the GAA here in Boston? Who plays the sport and what kind of competitions do you have?
Every year we run a championship. It runs from the middle of April to the end of August. There are about 13 football clubs. There are 8 hurling clubs. Most of the participants would have been members of the Irish community that have come to Boston over the years. We all know Boston is a huge Irish community. And most of the participants would be people that live here from Ireland. Also in the summertime we have a lot of students come over. It's an opportunity for them to come and experience the United States where they can hook up with the club. But now we're reaching out to try and spread the word of the game to the larger population.
And on that point, I know there's a number of children's teams have started up. So
yeah, for a long time there was one underage program which was centred at the Irish Cultural Centre in Canton. There are now 11 clubs. There's been a huge effort put in over the last 3 to 4 years to try and get kids playing the game at underage level, to coach kids the skills of the games, both hurling and football, from a young age. And now we're beginning to see, coming into a lot of the senior teams, which would be the highest level of play in Canton, a lot of kids who've come through those programs. So it's becoming more rooted with the general population here in the New England area.
And I guess those children from Irish immigrants, they bring their friends, and so it's...
And they bring their friends, yeah. I'm involved with my own kids, and a lot of their friends who wouldn't have any Irish connections at all have taken up the sport of Gaelic football, and they love it. They love it. It's a great game for kids to learn.
Very good. Any chance of Boston doing well in competitions?
Well, every year when the Boston Championship ends, Labor Day weekend is the North American Finals. The North American Finals takes the winners of all the regions in the United States together to play off a tournament over a weekend. Last year, a Boston team won the senior football and the junior hurling, so we brought back 2 trophies. We also play a challenge match against New York every so often, and usually we come out on top.
Oh, not too bad. So finally then, could you tell me then, if people were interested in the GAA, how they could maybe get involved here in Boston?
There's plenty of scope for getting involved. Probably the best thing to do to find information about the GAA locally here would be to go to our website, which is bostongaa.org. There's links there to any of the officers. My email address is there. We've also got a list of clubs. There are a lot of clubs here close to here in Brighton, also South Boston and Braintree and Quincy. There's a lot of clubs if that's where you're based and you wanted to hook up with a club. Another thing I'd like to say is that there are a lot of universities, and UConn is the closest one that comes to mind, that have started hurling clubs. So if any of the students here at BU were interested in starting a club, we do everything we can to help out with coaching, resources, equipment, and things like that. So just get in touch with us, and we'd be extremely happy to help you out.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a million for joining us.
A pleasure, Emily.